If you've ever managed an ERP go live, you know the feeling. The system is finally on, but so is the chaos. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful strategy to turn that post-launch storm into a period of controlled, rapid stabilization.
So let's start with a question that probably hits pretty close to home. What really happens on day one? You flip the switch, the new system is live, and then what? For a lot of teams, it's the start of a pretty intense story.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by dissecting that go-live chaos, and then introduce the hero of our story, the stabilization backlog. We'll also look at some new tech in Update 28.0 that makes this whole thing possible. I'll give you a 5-step plan you can actually use, and we'll see how this takes you from just surviving go-live to totally mastering it.
Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1, the go-live chaos. We're calling it the inevitable post-launch storm, and for good reason.
The reality on day one usually looks something like this, right? You get this absolute fire hose of support tickets, a flood of questions from users who are trying to figure out the new system. A whole bunch of tiny, random-seeming errors start popping up. And, of course, requests for little tweaks that somehow never came up in all those months of testing. It can feel, well, completely overwhelming.
But here is the most important thing to remember. This is not a sign of failure. Not at all. It's just the very first time your perfectly planned system is meeting the messy, unpredictable reality of day-to-day work. It's actually a normal, expected part of the process. The real key is how you manage it.
And that brings us to the solution. Section 2, the stabilization backlog. This is the tool we're going to use to bring some serious order to all that chaos. So what is it exactly? Well, think of it like a parallel backlog. And the most important word here is temporary. Its only job, its entire reason for existing, is to catch, categorize, and fix every single issue that comes up from the moment you go live until things calm down. It's a dedicated bucket for all that post-launch noise. Now, this is a really crucial distinction to make. Your normal product backlog, that's for your new features, your big ideas, the real evolution of the product. The stabilization backlog is different. Its whole purpose is to absorb that stabilization noise and focus only on operational stability. And while your product backlog goes on forever, this one has a very short, defined lifespan, maybe just 30 days or so. It doesn't compete with your roadmap, it actually protects it. It's like a shield.
So you might be wondering, why is this idea gaining so much traction right now? That brings us to Section 3. There's been a technical game changer that makes this whole strategy more powerful than ever before.
For anyone who's using Microsoft Dynamics 365, that game changer is the recent Business Central Update 28.0. It gives teams a whole new set of tools that lets them manage this stabilization period with a kind of precision that just, well, it wasn't really possible before. And here's what's under the hood. First, you get much richer telemetry, which basically means you can see error patterns in the data you were totally blind to before. Better environment administration makes it way easier to clone and test, so you can track down a problem without messing with the live system. You also get improved traceability, which helps you find the real root cause of an issue. And finally, some general performance boosts just help reduce the number of false alarms in the first place.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get to the how. Section 4 is your practical playbook, a 5-step implementation plan.
And the plan is actually pretty straightforward. First, you create a dedicated board for this in Azure DevOps, Jira, whatever you use. Just keep it separate from everything else. Second, you define very specific categories for the issues that come in. Third, and this is absolutely critical, you connect telemetry data to every single incident. Fourth, you prioritize ruthlessly based on how much it's hurting operations, not who's yelling the loudest. And finally, you review this entire backlog as a team every 48 hours to keep the momentum going.
Let's just zoom in on step 2 for a second, because this is where the magic really happens. Instead of just having bug or feature, you use categories like these. Is it a real incident, a verifiable bug, or maybe it's a data error from a bad migration? Is it user friction? You know, the system technically works, but it's just confusing or clunky. Or is it simply a training gap where someone just doesn't know the right way to do something? Getting this nuance right is the key to finding the right solution, and fast.
And that thinking leads us right to step 3, connecting telemetry. Because when you make it mandatory to check the data for every single reported issue, you get this. You move the conversation away from, "it feels slow," to an objective, data-driven analysis. It just completely eliminates those endless subjective debates and gets you straight to the root cause. So what does this all look like when the rubber meets the road? Let's move to our final section, from surviving to mastering. This is where we see the tangible payoff.
First, let's look at a super common scenario, the old way, without a stabilization backlog.
Okay, an incident comes in. Users are reporting slow performance. Sound familiar? Without a dedicated process, this ticket just gets lost in the big pile of requests for new features. The product owner is totally swamped, there's no hard data, and the team just wastes hours, maybe even days, debating if it's a real problem or just someone's perception.
All right, now let's hit rewind and run that exact same scenario through our new process, this time with a stabilization backlog in place. The incident is immediately logged in the right place, under user friction. The team reviews the telemetry, and boom, they instantly see some SQL query spikes. They reproduce the issue in a safe, cloned environment, and that leads them directly to a misconfigured filter. A fix is developed, tested, and validated all within 24 hours.
The outcome? I mean, it is a complete night and day difference. You get way less noise distracting your core team, you have so much more control over that post-launch phase, and ultimately, you get to a stable, reliable system much, much faster.
So if you remember anything, remember this. This whole approach brings order to the go-live chaos. It acts as a crucial shield for your long-term product backlog. It dramatically speeds up your system stabilization, forces you to make decisions based on data, not feelings, and it helps you stop small, annoying issues from blowing up into major crises.
You know, in the end, adopting a stabilization backlog, especially with the kind of tools we have today, is really more than just a new process. It's a fundamental shift in your mindset. It's the difference between just surviving your go-live and truly mastering it.